obligated. I hate the burden of having to talk about my transness on the first or even the second date. Wow. You would let me take you out twice. Well, this is ideal. Right, and not say, just so you know. If we met out and about, yeah, I'm more likely to hold off longer. Now, online, if I'm like on an app or something, I put it in my profiles. Like, I don't play that game. No, but if I met you at a bar, restaurant, whatever, Raquel's so beautiful, can take you out. Sure. It varies, but I'm not going to be like, can you take me out? Sure. Oh, by the way, I'm trans. Like, I might do that, but I don't feel obligated to do that all the time. It's interesting that you say you don't feel obligated. I hate the burden of having to talk about my transness on the first or even the second date.
Shalom. Giving all praises to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachakwadash, and double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders at Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and salutations, as always, to the elect. Be careful out here in Babylon the Great. All right, be careful. All right. And if possible, just sit your ass down somewhere. All right. Now, as you saw, or as you see here, this individual, all right, this male who has pretty much changed himself, all right, into a female, all right, which you can't do that, still a male, all right, but as you can see, you heard what he said, all right, basically, he doesn't like to disclose, all right, as he's on dates with other men who thinks he's a woman. He doesn't want to disclose on the first or second date that he used to be a man. All right. And when you read these comments, all right, when you read the comments, it starts off with a so-called black woman asking, do men feel obligated to say that they're married? All right. And you have some people, condemning it. But as you read these comments, all right, you'll see how absolutely confused our people are. All right. Safety first. She's lived in her body long enough. This is a so-called black man. He looks older. All right. Her situational awareness supersedes anyone's need to know. So these are so-called black people, right? Another man. These are men. So it's not just the women. All right, because it was women who advocated, for the alphabet community, who advocated for men to turn themselves into women. Well, now these men who've turned themselves into women are, going on to podcasts, all right, getting in positions and actually getting awards, all right, as the first woman of the year, all right, entering a track and field competition, entering MMA even. Yeah, you have MMA, all right, mixed martial arts, where a man can turn himself into a woman and then go and fight an actual woman, okay? And it's just absolute confusion. They're playing basketball in high school against the daughters, all right, of men and women who've had a daughter, and she grows up to play a sport. These men are entering into the sport and dominating. You see, dominating, hurting the other little girls, playing soccer, kicking the ball far as hell. Okay, calf muscles, got hair coming off of them. All right, and this is the confusion that has been pushed through Babylon the Great. All right, however, if you notice, our people have really accepted this as a part of their culture. And why? All right, we're going to show you that idol worship, all right, is at the forefront of this. All right. Do you tell folk how many STDs you've had on your second date? How about that you've had 4 baby daddies or mothers, or that you went bankrupt? All right, your credit's bad. Don't be ridiculous. Why would you be shocked that a trans person has to expose that on day one? Be for real. These are men. All right. You have, even the women are like, what the hell? And women, you women should be fed up with this agenda, because now these are the new women. Here it is. All of these years you fought for the, women's right and bragged on what it meant to be a woman this, a woman that, set on this pedestal, only to get here. And now these can be women. You see? And again, who was at the forefront of those marches was women. All right. But now we see that men, all right, our people are absolutely gone. Okay? Absolutely gone, man. They think that this is okay. They don't see any problem with this, but some of them do. All right. But the bottom line is, what we're going to show you is that this is a result of idol worship. A lot of people think idol worship is you, sitting and bowing, all right, to some statue. All right. Well, that's been upgraded. In times past, that was a form of idol worship, carving a thing out of a tree, or making an image out of gold, silver, or whatever, and bowing to it and, calling it a god. All right. But you have to understand that there's also behavior patterns tied to idol worship, because these idols require sacrifices. Okay. And when you deal with things like a man dressed as a woman and a woman dressed as a man, those things are tied to, all right, how these particular heathen worship their gods. And when Israel is from up under the protection of the Most High God, Yahweh and Yahweh Shai, who gives them law, statutes, and commandments, and a culture and a standard in a way that protects them from, doing all of this. All right. And it's all centered around the fear of the Lord. See, when you have Israel fearing the Lord, these type of practices don't get, practiced. All right. As a matter of fact, let's get scripture real quick. In the book of Sirach. Let's get it here. The fear of the Lord. Let's get it. I believe it's the fear of the Lord when it is present. Give me 1 second here. All right. Sirach 1:21. The fear of the Lord driveth away sins, and where it is present, it turneth away wrath. So when you fear the Lord, all right, that is the beginning of wisdom. All right. But when you take yourself, all right, and when wisdom is present, it turneth away wrath. It driveth away sins, which sins are transgression of the law. So when you don't have the fear of the Lord, all right, you move and operate, all right, in a sinful manner, all right, without any standard or any medium to say, okay, I'm going too far. So when you look at our people, all right, they've been led into a burning house. Now, yesterday I did a video dealing with Meg the Stallion, which a stallion is a male horse. You put two and two together, who knows? We'll see. We're going to know everything at the end of the day when we, get those new bodies. We're going to know everything we have witnessed. We're going to know it all. It's all going to be made manifest. Even before we get out of here, there's a lot of truths that are starting to come out, and we're going to find out how absolutely diabolical this system is that we're living in, because it's called Babylon the Great for a reason. All right. Great confusion. All right. And when some things come out, you have particular brothers who they'll be like, nah, that's too far fetched. Nah, I can't see it. All right. Well, you're getting ready to see it. You're getting ready to see, brother, how absolutely wicked, all right, this place is. There are particular people right before our faces that are presented as one sex, but really it's another sex. And they're famous, and they'll show you baby pictures, but the whole time, all right, these people are, the other sex. This is the world we live in. But again, the fear of the Lord driveth away sins, and where it is present, it turneth away wrath. So our people, all right, yesterday I did a lesson going into Meg the Stallion and, the Planned Parenthood, award, and donating money and telling women, my body, my choice. All right. And as we showed you, the practice of, aborting a child, or the practice of, deleting a child, goes back to a practice associated with a god called Molech. So I mentioned in that video how things like civil rights led us into idol worship. And a brother left on the comment board, could you explain that? I never heard that. All right. And I can see why that can be a little weird. But what you have to understand is, as our people, all right, have been set up by the so-called white man with leaders, all right, in a path to walk in, you know, these particular leaders have not led Jake to fear the Lord. And what civil rights did was it pretty much, all right, set you up, all right, to be integrated with your enemy. And when you get among your enemy, Jake, going even back to the sons of God in Genesis, the 6th chapter, as they get among the heathen and they get, all right, from following the ways of the Most High and they throw away their standards, they become heathen, Gentiles. And what did that do? You serve the idols of the heathen. And when you serve the idols of the heathen, you start to what? Then practice the practices associated with those idols. Now, does Jake know that they're worshiping an idol? No. All right. They think that this is just normal behavior. All right. You see things like Tyler Perry, a man dressed as a woman. All right. You see these women, you know, being put on the pedestal, you know, being presented as warriors. And, you know, that's all idol worship. That's how the heathen worship their gods. That's why we receive law, statutes, and commandments, all right, that were to separate us from the practices of the heathen, because this is how they worship their gods. All right. A man dressing as a woman, a man chopping off his rod. These are ways that heathen, all right, worship their gods. These are sacrifices unto their gods. A woman putting on, all right, male military armor and dressing as a warrior, or putting on a crown as a king, or putting on a fake beard, all right, to portray herself as a man. These practices are all tied to idols. Now, as you get this here in Deuteronomy 12 and 30, which we got this yesterday, it says, take heed to thyself that thou be not snared by following them, all right, after they be destroyed from before thee. So before we went into the Holy Land, you had Hamites, all right, Canaanites, all right, all the ites in that land, all right, the sons of Ham, other nations that were surrounding it as well, who were in that land, and they were doing all manner of evil practices. Okay, child sacrifice, sodomy, you know, the drinking of the BLOOD, which all of these practices dominate the world we live in today. All right, and when you understand that those are all tied to the idols they worship, you see, and when Jake got into that whole, you know, going from being segregated and separated from Esau to being integrated, all right, what happened was they lost their way. Now, it's not like Jake was worshiping Yahweh Bashim Yahushai and was super on point, but things were better, and there were a lot of things seen as taboo. Okay, let's look up the word taboo. Okay, let's look up the word taboo. Okay, forbidden. All right, you know, inviolable. Let's look up this word. I never seen this word. Etymology. All right, that is to be kept without violation, inviolable, and so forth. So taboo, unclean or cursed, forbidden, unclean, cursed. All right. So basically, there were things when you deal with Jake's culture that we see practiced, all right, as normal things today that were taboo. Even me growing up in the 80s, you know, a soft Jake, you know, was looked down upon. He was picked on. He was laughed at. You know, if you were soft, you know, if you know, had the qualities of a you know, if you were a man or a young man and you had the qualities of a woman, you would get picked on. You would get laughed at. All right. To abort your child, that was not a standard. All right. But as we grew deeper and deeper into, you know, rebelling against the Lord and following after our enemy, as we've been mingled amongst him, we learn their works. So let's get this real quick. And as we learn their works, all right, what these heathen do, particularly Esau, he starts to inject idol worship, all right, into your culture, which ultimately he understands that has been what separated you from your power, even going back to the flood, okay, as we'll show you, all right? When you look at the Gentiles, when you look at Israel and all of these different captivities, what was the number one issue is that they served the idols of the heathen, all right, which the practices associated with those idols go against Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Okay, so now we're at a point where a man can change himself to a woman, all right, so say, which we know that can't happen. But again, in visual, you're looking at the individual, you're like, wait a minute, this is this is a woman. If you saw this individual at Walmart, all right, which I'm at the point in my life where I don't holler at women, you know, I'll say hi, how you doing, but I would think that I was speaking to a woman. All right, I don't ask for numbers. I don't, you know, those days are gone for me. I'm over it. You know, I got what I need. You know, and you know, the Lord is going to do His thing as this, you know, place falls. He's going to link, you know, brothers, you know, with women and all of that, you know, for the purpose of salvation. But the bottom line is, you got to be careful out here because Jake is gone. All right, so you can see someone who looks just like a woman, and it's a full-blown nigga. All right, nigga had 8 interceptions in high school. He was a cornerback. Now look at him. Okay? This is the result of idol worship. Deuteronomy 12:30. Take heed to thyself that thou be not snared by following them. All right? It says, after they be destroyed from before thee, and that thou inquire not after their gods, saying, how do these nations serve their gods? Even so will I do likewise. All right. So this is why we have laws that tell us not to do this, not to do that, because these Canaanites, these ites, these heathen were in the land and in the surrounding areas doing absolutely wickedness. And all of these practices are tied to how they worship their gods. Okay, the worship of a woman, that goes to the worship of Semiramis. You know, you know, Tammuz, that's Jesus. And when you go into the church and you look at the behavior of our people in there, all right, here it is. They think they're, you know, believing in the Bible, but really this Jesus, all right, character, okay, it's another vibration. That's why you see all of those sodomites in there. That's why you see all of those bold, proud women in there. Okay, all of those soft men. Okay, it's all associated with the idol that they're following, and they have no idea. You see? And we're going to show you that there are idols that deal, all right, with dual gender, all right, and what do you call it? Like the Baphomet energy. You got, you know, breast and a rod. You know, it's crazy. We'll show you. Thou shalt not do unto the Lord thy God, for every abomination which the heathen have they done unto their gods, for even their sons and daughters have they burnt in the fire, all right, to their gods. So you have to understand, idols are tied to practices. You must not worship the Lord God the way the other nations worship their gods, for they perform for their gods every detestable act, all right, detestable act that they have, that they do. The Lord hates those detestable acts. They even burn their sons and daughters as sacrifices to their gods. Okay? So when you deal with civil rights, okay, let's get, this should, see if this links us. Let's get a precept. This should link us to Psalms 106. Boom, there you go. Because Israel didn't do that. They didn't destroy the nations. They didn't they tore down their groves to a degree. They tore down their idols, their high places. But Jake eventually, all right, said, wow, this is interesting. This is better than what the Lord gave us in the form of the law, statutes, and commandments. I want to do this. This is more interesting. I get more pleasure out of this instead of dealing with the order the Lord told them to be in. Now, this is the Psalms 106 and 34. They did not destroy the nations concerning whom the Lord commanded them, but were mingled among the heathen and learned their works and served their idols, which were a snare unto them. So when you deal with something like civil rights, it was a snare. All right. First of all, the NAACP is the first members were small hats. Okay, all of the I Have a Dream, that speech was written by Stanley Levinson of Small Hat, Michael Luther King, which is his name. He didn't write that speech. All of the leaders and heads of the civil rights movement were sodomites. All right, let's look up one of the main ones. All right, the real leader of civil rights. This is the true original leader of civil rights. All right, he's a man by the name of Bayard Rustin. Okay, you can look him up, but as you can see him here with his husband, his boo, right? But this was the leader of civil rights, right? As a sweet man, tutti frutti man, Rustin was forced to live with the constraints and prejudices of the time. Okay, even amongst Jake, okay, these practices, these behavior patterns weren't looked at as normal. Again, they were taboo. There were a lot of things that were just taboo amongst Jake. You see, even in America itself, there was a time where America had some sort of Christian values, right? It says including beatings and arrests. He spent in 1953. He spent 50 days in jail as registered as a sex offender after being discovered having sex in a park in Pasadena. All right, and this is the leader of your civil rights. All right. This is the man who organized the march on Selma. All right. Selma, whatever it's called. All right. It's this guy. Okay. And you can look him up. But again, okay, this is the beginning of civil rights. So if your leader is a sodomite, all right, as you are being integrated into this Edomite supremacist system to be set up as a snare, all right, you're not going to, have standards. These leaders aren't going to present unto you standards that are associated with the boundaries the Heavenly Father set up. All right, they're going to trick you, because the whole thing was a trick. All right, remember there were two girls who couldn't get into the Edomite school back then. Jake was doing just fine. All right, but then the news stations used these two girls who couldn't get into this Edomite school as a big thing. All right, and pretty much, the FBI set up these groups. All right, and pretty much it formed civil rights that we have the right to go to your schools. We have the right to be amongst you. Treat us like normal human beings. Treat us as equal. So what that did was that integrated Jake into a system, all right, that it was ultimately going to set them up to destroy them. Because as Jake gets among the heathen, okay, we're always better separate. All right, when Jake gets among the heathen, okay, and they leave from up under the protection of the Most High God, Yahweh and Yahweh Shai, which is what civil rights was all about. Because when did the Lord tell us to fight, all right, and march to be equal with the heathen? And again, off of the back of civil rights, all right, came, all right, GAY rights, civil rights, all of these rights, all right. And then Jake, all right, found themselves at the forefront of all of these marches, not even understanding that you've been set up, you've been snared. Now, really, you're not worshiping Yahweh Bashim El Shai. You're worshiping an idol. And it's got progressively worse and worse and worse, because now you're amongst your enemy. Now you're in his school. Now you're picking up his ways. Edomites are nasty. They fill on each other as jokes. The GAY jokes are like the norm amongst them. I grew up amongst Judah, Issachar, Ephraim. All right, Oakland and East Oakland in California, right? I didn't grow up amongst Edomites like that, right? But now when I went to junior college, I got there were Edomites on the team, and boy, oh boy, the way that they play, right? And Jake was right along there with them. I was like, man, I wasn't down with that shit, slapping each other on the ass, grabbing each other's rods. This is what Edomites do. And Jake was, I remember, was right along there with him. Now, me and my homie, my boy, right, who I was closest to, we used to sit like, these niggas are crazy. Don't play with us like that. There was other Jakes, too, that was like, don't play with us like that. But that Jake was in there doing that. All right, running around, naked, as they get in the shower, slapping, each other on the ass with the towel. This is the environment, all right, that Jake has integrated themselves into. See? And again, you have to understand that this is really all associated with your worship, because your worship is tied to what you do and what you don't do. See? So Jake, when you deal with civil rights, they were integrated, as Martin Luther King said. I feel like I integrated my people into a burning house. You can look up that interview. Just type it in, Martin Luther King, burning house.
Will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today.
And it was all a setup to get you to go and beg and march and beg the so-called white man to be equal, accept what he has for you, and look at it as, now I'm winning, when you were better off separated from him, right? So they set up these leaders in this civil rights situation where now you're begging to be accepted by them. You're begging to go to their schools. You're begging to, go in their banks and their businesses when you had your own shit, right? Which they were destroying, all right? The Black Wall Street. You have various Black Wall Street scenarios back then, even going further back. So what Esau did was he set up this civil rights situation. All right, and now you're leaving from amongst your own, all right? And you're being led into a burning house. Let's listen to how this changed.
I must confess that that dream that I had that day has at many points turned into a nightmare. Now, I'm not one to lose hope. I keep on hoping. I still have faith in the future. But I've had to analyze many things over the last few years, and I would say over the last few months. I've gone through a lot of soul-searching and agonizing moments. And I've come to see that we have many more difficult days ahead, and some of the old...
Things got worse. Things didn't get better. All right, you're just now being used as a pawn in their scheme. And you're marching all over the goddamn place in these suits and doing all of these marches. All right, fast forward BLM, Black Lives Matter, right? When you went to the mission statement of Black Lives Matter, okay, the mission statement said that ultimately we want to destroy the patriarchy that has been associated with our race, where the men are the heads, and we want to instill alphabet people as leaders. We want to destroy this whole nuclear family thing, which is what the Most High set up, and we want to instill, all right, these practices, all right, dealing with alphabet people. It was all about the alphabet people, all right, but it's called Black Lives Matter, all right, and we know that was funded by the enemy, all right. Particular names you can't really mention help fund that. George, Soros, they say he had a part in it, even if it's not him, okay, the whole thing, the Democrats, all right, and when you look at the agenda of the Democrats, look at it, all right, but they always use our people as a pawn. And Jake is sitting here voting for these people. Do you realize the disrespect you're showing Yahweh Bashim Yahushai when you accept these people as leaders who have ways that go completely against what he wants? And these are Christians who are doing this. But MLK came to the conclusion I was tripping. I was used for it. And he's a Mo himself. He's set up. But Jake has a conscience, So he came to the conclusion, oh boy, I effed up. All right. I really led my people into a burning house. This dream that I had of little white boys and little white girls running and jumping and whee, that shit don't work. The scriptures say, though, hand join in hand, the wicked will not be unpunished. All right.
Optimism was a little superficial, and now it must be tempered with a solid realism. And I think the realistic fact is that we still have a long, long way to go, and that we are involved in a war on Asian soil, which, if not checked and stopped, can poison the very soul of our nation. I'm not going to say that all of our problems will be solved if the war in Vietnam is ended, but I do say that the war makes it infinitely more.
And you can read, there's one where he said, "I've led my people to a burning house."
That he is going to be good for the African American community. I mean, we've just heard some of the things that he said, and he did, of course, retweet that what many believe to be
I think much of what's going on right now, I'll use even some of the words that the previous guest in the segment that I just saw use, that is schoolyard chatter. We're in a very serious time here in this country where our community is on fire, basically, and no one is talking about sending a fire truck.
Agitated after what we thought was a very successful gathering and discussion. And he said to me, I said, what's the matter, Mark? You seem very agitated. He said, well, I am. Because I've come upon a thought that I don't know how to deal with at this moment. I said, well, what is it? He said, we fought long for integration. It looks like we're going to get it. I think we get the laws. He says, but I'm afraid that
again, people, when they deal with civil rights, our forefathers fought for you to have that right to vote. No, those niggas were fighting, right? And you call it, calling it like it is. They were fighting to be equal with the white man. They were fighting to be integrated into his system. See? And again, the end result, you're worse off. See? When Gad accepted Esau, all right, were they better off or were they worse off? No, they were worse off. Okay, you're drinking out of creeks, living off the land. He comes with a bottle of fire water. Now your ass is drunk as hell on a reservation. Okay, that we're going to take the whole land, but we're going to reserve this for you. And now you drunk as hell, drinking all kind of bro. Jake is over there on those reservations. You got 4-year-olds committing suicide. Okay, Jake is on those reservations losing, drinking bug spray. Okay, yeah, look it up. They're just completely gone. All right, because it was the curses we know, but they accepted Esau. All right, in his ways, and they started to live like him, which again, these practices are all associated with idols. And it's not that Gad was over here, worshiping Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, but again, they were better off. See, but we get even worse off, when we start to allow Esau to dictate the pace and, give us an agenda to fight for. See? And then you look up and you're fighting for sodomites to have rights to teach children. You're fighting for the trans man to be a woman. You're fighting for a trans man to turn to a woman and play basketball with women. And you have no idea that you've been completely detached from the Lord and that you're serving an idol. See?
Come upon something I don't know quite what to do with. I'm afraid that we're integrating into a burning house. And when we asked for further clarification, Andy Young was with me at that time, my wife, others.
Let's look up the word integration. Okay, the act of bringing together the parts of a whole. All right, basically, all right, coming together at the end of the day. And this is what Jake has always been forbidden to do with these heathen. All right, and even when you conquer these heathen, if you're going to take on their women, okay, they are supposed to put off their idols and serve your God. Okay, that was the commandment. See, but Jake has always been rebellious. Now, this is a video I did some time ago. I see this brother reposted it here. Yaiqua repost and Hunter too. It's called The Snare of BLM/Civil Rights Baal Peor, which means the God of the opening. See, and when Jake dealt with Baal Peor, they were dealing with the God of the Moabites. All right, as they were on their way to the Holy Land. In the wilderness, they start dealing with the God of the Moabites, and it dealt with sexual promiscuity. All right, and different, wicked sacrifices, sodomy. All right, and that whole thing is happening to us today. Now, if you look at that post, that's from 2007, I believe. No, he joined 2007, but this is real. It says BLM. I'm like, BLM wasn't around in 2007, but if you look at the post there, it says Black, all right, queer lives matter, Black trans lives matter, Black lives matter, and that's what that whole thing was all about. You see, when you go into it. Now, this is another video I did a year ago. Well, I did it some years ago, but I reposted it a year ago because basically BLM had a mission statement on their website. And when you read the mission statement, they took it down, but I had a screenshot of it. So I did this video, but check out real quick what this mission statement says so we can understand what I mean by this stuff leads you into idol worship. And it takes you from up under the protection of the Lord, but it's under the guise of liberation or help or you getting some sort of victory. Okay. It says, we practice empathy. We engage comrades with the intent to learn about and connect with their context. And we know this was started by three Dizikes. Yeah. Okay. The BLM was started by three Dizikes. Again, the Lord, the Lord, man, Esau. Okay. The Lord put this man out. He's really set up to take you left, man. And again, all of the civil rights leaders, when you go into them, Alex Baldwin, all right, they were all sodomites, the women too. See? Even when you deal with Rosa Parks, she was a Buddhist. She worshipped idols. She was a demon. All right, and you look at these people, and you know, every February you would, you know, look at these people as your leaders. Meanwhile, you ignoring King David, you ignoring the righteous forefathers and foremothers spoken of in Hebrews the 11th chapter that were tied to the faith of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Even when you go to church, you're literally being set up to worship idols. Why? Easter, Christmas. They even celebrate Halloween. We ain't gonna let our children go out in the streets and do it. We gonna do it in the church. But these are holy days for the wicked. Why do you have rabbit and eggs in the same sentence? So this is how things like civil rights, the black church, and all of these various different things has led us into a hub of idol worship to where now sin is the standard of your culture. And Esau wins. This is why the elect remnant are so important. But this is off of the BLM website that they had up. They took this down after people started going into it. All right, but listen to what it says. We make our spaces family friendly and enable parents to fully participate with their children. We dismantle the patriarchal, practice that requires mothers to work double shifts so that they can mother in private, even as they participate in public justice work. Let's look at what patriarchal practice is, or what is a patriarchal. That's the family. It says relating to or characteristics of a patriarch. As a matter of fact, let me look up patriarch real quick. Patriarch. The fuck? What the fuck? These people, bro. That's the patriarch? Anyway, the white man, right? The patriarch is the male head of a family tribe. Any of those biblical figures regarded as the fathers of the human race. Okay? Just like the serpent in the garden, that's what he was set up to do, was to break up that family bond. Dismantle the family by putting the woman as the head. Same thing happened to us here with the women's lib situation. All right? Oh, man. Yeah, it's funny how, you know, the Bible talks about Shem, Ham, and Japheth, who repopulated the earth, all right, under Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. But you don't hear about none of the names of the women because the seed comes from the father. All right, patriarch. They're trying to destroy patriarchy, man. Family structure. This is the goal of your precious Black Lives Matter. And they're hiding it. And this doesn't take away from the importance of women. Women are very important to a nation. All right. But they use things like patriarchy to say, see, women are being oppressed and this and that. We just got to get the hell up out of here, man. This whole feminist agenda, man. And there's an article how the Rockefellers are responsible for pushing that agenda on you jakes, man. They destroyed women. They destroyed family structure. So this whole Black Lives Matter, we foster a queer affirming network. See that? But wait a minute. This is Black Lives Matter. What is queer and destroying the patriarch has to do with anything? But you know, you niggas are so damn stupid, man, that you following after this madness. You're basically, what you're doing is you're marching for your own destruction. Right. Christians were big into this BLM and Obama. Obama was pushing all kind of rebellion against the Lord, right? So again, you see how you're being led to idols. Hopefully it's making sense to the brother that asked. Let's read some more. We make space for transgender brothers and sisters to participate and lead. Yeah. This is an anti-Messiah movement, man. Straight up and down, man. But you know who Christians are a part? They're a part of Black Lives Matter. Come on, man. They're destroying the patriarch. They're part of the anti-Messiah to destroy the patriarch, disorder in family, disorder in marriage, which the anti-Messiah forwards. Okay, anti-life. Now your average Jake has no problem with, all right, this behavior. Now a man dressing or cutting off his rod and being and acting and so-called being a woman is okay. It's normalized. Okay, this is the result of you being entered into a system of idol worship, witchcraft, and rebellion against Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Let's listen to a little bit more and we'll get a few examples and we'll cut the video. Okay, but they're hiding it under BLM. Just like civil rights was hidden, all right, was really rooted in a bunch of those alphabets people leading you. And how do you think the Heavenly Father feels about you following, okay, this type of movement? How do you think he feels about that? And this is what Grandmaster Jay is saying. Black Lives Matter. You see that? He even said all lives matter at one point. Impacted by trans antagonistic violence. You see, and there's a vibration that comes with colors, man. Why do you think they call themselves white and you black? We are self-reflective and do the work required to dismantle cisgender privilege and uplift, all right, black trans folk, especially black trans women who continue to be disproportionately impacted by trans antagonistic violence. We build a space that affirms black women and is free from sexism, misogyny, and environments in which men are centered. Now, the face of BLM was so-called black men who was so-called getting shot by the police. But here in this mission statement, which they took down, I'm just reloading this and adding a little bit to it, which they took down, by the way. Okay, we clearly see that as it is stated in the beginning of this video. 1 second here. Okay. That it's a smoke screen for alphabet agenda. And it means no good to you Israelites. But you have black rappers because they're paid off. Okay. And a bunch of jakes that are pushing you to follow this agenda. Now, the question is, why did they take this down? Okay. You can watch that video. You can see the title here. It's on Remnant Say 144 Ba. Check that out. So I have a few more things here. And again, let's show you that this is the result of idol worship. Let's get, and now this is the end result. This nigga.
It's one of my friends and mentors. I'm trans. Like, I might do that, but I don't feel obligated to do that.
They do the surgery now to shave down an Adam's apple. So you are just kind of like out, like we need help. All right. But let's get the book of, give me 1 second here. Let's get it here. All right, now, what I'll do, I'll go here. Give me 1 second here. All right. Wisdom of Solomon, 14, the results of idol worship, the results of adultery. And we're seeing the results of adultery amongst the behavior of our people because none of their behavior patterns are tied to the fear of the Lord. So now they've been given a go-ahead to do as they will. They don't have any bounds. Boundaries are wicked to them. See? And they walk around with these Obama hats, these BLM hats, these Democratic or Republic hats. And meanwhile, you're losing. You're done. Okay? One thing led to another. And this is speaking of what the sons of God got into. This is what led to the flood. One thing led to another. It was not enough that they were wrong about the knowledge of the Most High. They lived in a state of evil warfare. All right? But they were so ignorant, they called it peace. This is Jake. They call this peace. All right? You got all these theories. You go onto the internet, man. All of these people with platforms and shorts just giving you misinformation. This is all being done by design, man. They murdered children in their initiation rituals, celebrated secret mysteries, and held wild ceremony orgies with unnatural practices. Now, when I went to college, as I left junior college, I went to college eventually in the South. All right, the 4-year college. That's when I saw Jake. I used to really think that, okay, being a sodomite was a white man thing. And this is in the year 2000, 1999, 2000. I thought that, being a sodomite was an Edomite thing, a white man thing. I wasn't in the truth, but I never really associated so-called black men, Hispanic, Native men with being sodomites. Fast forward, I get to college. I had never really, running a train on a chick was not a big thing, where I grew up. Fast forward, I get to college, and Jake is just wilding out. I see packs of sodomites walking around, all right, kissing in the open. Okay, you in the dorm room, okay, you walk in, you like, what's the big fuss? What's going on? There's a bunch of dudes standing around, jerking their rides, all right, with one dude smashing a woman, the little girl, the chick on the bed. He gets up, the next dude goes. Another one got his rod in him. These are the things I witnessed. I had to run out of the room. Like, oh shit, this really happens amongst Jake. These are the things that I witnessed Jake do. Jake is a complete heathen. And you have to understand, when you deal with the Gentiles who served idols, this is what they were doing in the ancient Greco-Roman Empire. Now is being done again. See? Orgies and unnatural practices, man. Okay, you have to understand there's a god of orgies. All right? As a matter of fact, let's look it up for you. Okay? The Roman god of orgies is Bacchus. See? And when you deal with the Freaknik down in Atlanta, now the elder apostle Ramla brought out some information on Atlanta, how it's named after a deity named Atlantis. And when you go to it, it deals with, all right, lesbianism, man. All right, debauchery. But the worship of Dionysus, whom the Roman called Bacchus, or rather the Bacchus mysteries and orgies, are said to have been introduced from southern Italy into Etruria, from thence into Rome. And these were all heathen. The heathen did this. But eventually, all right, when Esau took over the Greco-Roman, territories, they took on these practices, man. And Jake, being mingled among them, all right, worship their gods the way the heathen worship their gods. You have to understand, it's not just an orgy. You're not just being a sodomite. These are things that are tied to how heathen worship their gods. Okay? Dionysus. All right, the Freaknik is nothing but, all right, did a video on it. It's nothing but a big parade to these idols, man. And this is how they have Jake in a complete throughness. Now it says, they no longer kept their lives nor marriages pure. Look at it. All right. A man might kill another by the act of treachery or cause him grief by committing adultery with his wife. See that? We see that promoted in rap music. Now it's your song. Sin is your song. Now it's your culture. Culture is how one is educated, how you cultivate something, is how you grow it, how you tend to it. Okay? And, like Tupac, he's supposed to be some hero, but he's famous for saying, you claim to be but I fucked your wife. But then he's spiritual. Then Hail Mary. Then Dear Mama. But then you bitch, you ain't, he was all over the place. A complete demon who brought you into being a thug. Which again, we showed you that thugs or thuggies are dealing with Hindu, all right, Elamite gods. The rabbit hole goes deep. Idols are right in front of us, but you just wouldn't know it. All right. This is why the Lord set up the prophets to give you understanding of these things. Everything was a complete riot of bloody murder, robbery, deceit, corruption, faithlessness, disorder, falsehood, harassment of innocent people, okay? Ingratitude, moral decay, sexual perversion, broken marriages, adultery, and immorality. Now, when you get that scripture here, that was the GNT, all right? It says in 26, disquieting of good men. If you're a good man, you get devoured amongst Jake, all right? Forgetfulness of good terms, defiling of souls, changing of kind. And when you go into the 1611 King James Bible, it shows you that changing of kind is associated with sex. Disorder in marriages, adultery, and shameless uncleanness. For the worship of idols, not to be named, is the beginning, the cause, and the end of all evil. See? So the worshiping of idols, all right, whose name should never be spoken, is the beginning and the end and the cause and result of every evil. People who worship them lose control of themselves in ecstasy, or pass off lies as prophecies, or live wickedly, or break their word without hesitation, meaning they don't have any fear of the Lord. So when you look at something like this, Salakia, okay, it is a result, all right, of idol worship, because there's idols, as we show you, there's idols tied to dual genderism and transism. They're just playing out their gods through the behavior of the people. Okay, their gods are controlling the vibration of Jacob, not the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. See? Now, this is a list of androgynous and hermaphroditic, all right, deities. All right, Hermes and Aphrodite put together is where you get hermaphrodite. It's a man and a woman. But you can just look these gods up. All right. And in Egypt as well, they had these gods. Hapi. All right. The god of the annual flooding in the Nile. All right. He was greatly celebrated among the Egyptians. All right. Hapi is typical depicted as an androgynous fire. All right. With a large belly and, all right, large drooping breast. Okay. He's a dual gender god. Okay. So again, Baphomet. We know about the Baphomet, right? It's a man and a woman. Okay. And that's big here. This is an energy. The Baphomet is not just, you see this, but this is an energy. This is a vibration that controls people. And Jake is all up under this. Jake is mesmerized by this. Even if they're not practicing it, it's okay to them. Let's get the book of Romans, the first chapter. Okay. Romans 1. We'll get a little bit more and close out. So hopefully this answers the brother's question. But I saw that post and I was like, oh man, I gotta this goes into what I wanted, man. This is what Jake was doing in Rome. Okay? Romans 1 and in 24. So God abandoned them, NLT, to do whatever shameful things their hearts desired. As a result, they did vile and degrading things with each other's bodies. They traded the truth of the Most High for a lie, so they worshipped and served the things God created instead of the creator himself. And sex is a big part of that. It's worshipped because it's powerful and they use it to control. Okay? It says that is why God abandoned them to the shameful desires. Even the women turned against the natural way to have sex and instead indulge with sex with each other. Like Dawn Staley, that coach. All right, she's a mo. All right, all of these niggas are mo. Kirk Franklin, all of these dudes are mo's. All of the people who are in front of you, these people in Hollywood, they're all a part of this lifestyle. All right, and men, instead of having normal relationships with women, burned with lust for each other. Men did shameful things with other men, and as a result of this sin, they suffer within themselves the penalty they deserve, which is the diseases they get. Since they thought it foolish to acknowledge the Most High, he abandoned them to their foolish thinking and let them do the things that they should never be done. Again, and this is all tied to idols, brother, and you sisters, man. Their lives became full of every wicked kind of wickedness, sin, greed, hate, envy, murder. So as you see, what the sons of God did that led to the flood, Jake did it all over again, and they're doing it all over again today. This is why the Lord had to set up Noah. This is why the Lord had to set up prophets. This is why the Lord set up the remnant, so that we wouldn't be blamed and associated with these niggas, man. The 2/3. Murder, quarreling, deception, malicious behavior, and gossip. This is niggas culture, man. Okay? They are backstabbers. And see, this is why you should not associate anything black with this truth, man. We ain't black. Black culture is absolutely trash, man. All right? If an alien came from outer space and came to this earth, which we don't believe in aliens, we know. All right? Tell him to stay the fuck away from McDonald's and black culture. All right? And the white man. Tell him that. Okay? They are backstabbers, haters of God, insolent, proud, and boastful. They invent new ways of sinning. All right, my booty hole brown. And they're sending these wicked trolls to go and teach your children. And they disobey their parents. They refuse to understand. They break their promises, are heartless, and have no mercy. This is what we just read in Wisdom of Solomon 14 all over again. Okay? They know God's justice requires those who do these things deserve to die, yet they do them anyway because they heard the prophets. Worse yet, they encourage others to do them too. See? But so those of you who encourage others to do it, even if you're not indulging in the act, if you encourage it, you just as through as them. See? So you under the vibration of Baphomet. Androgynous deities. See that? Look at this nigga. Many cultures have myths that address gender identity, and it's all back here today. Okay? A myth is what we could call other people's religions considered true. But myths serve as a way to explain things and educate people on various things. So it's idols that you're being educated in and not the fear of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. And now the end result is that you now have taken on the ways of these idols. Look at this nasty nigga here. Look at that nigga. Come on, man. And E is big on this. E is big on this, man. All right? Elam is big on this. The heathen are big on this stuff. See? Now, there's a scripture in 1 John, and we'll end it off on that. Had some other scriptures, but the point was made. See? The idols. See? They would make those graven images and then bow to them and then do sacrifices and behaviors, all right, that appease those idols. Okay? So, and the Lord is going to destroy all of these idols out of the land. Okay. Jeremiah 50:2, declare ye among the nations and publish and set up a standard. See, we're setting up a standard, right? Boundaries. Publish and conceal not. Say Babylon is taken, but all is confounded. Marduk is broken in pieces. Her idols are confounded. Her images are broken in pieces, man. And these were deities of the ancient, all right, Babel, all right, and Neo-Babylonian Empire, which we're in Babel the Great. Jeremiah 50:38, a drought is upon her waters, and they shall be dried up. For it is the land of graven images, and they are mad upon their idols. So America is the land of graven images, but you wouldn't know it. Even these particular celebrities, rappers, they're idols. These actors, they're being made into idols. Beyonce is an idol. Basically worshiping the Queen of Heaven, but through some music you like, or a person you think is pretty, and you won't know it. But when you look at what you start to accept, you see, and what you start to think is normal and cool, you'll see you're worshiping idols, man. 1 Corinthians 12:2, you know that you were Gentiles carried away unto these dumb idols, even as you were led. 1 John 5:21, little children, keep yourselves from idols. Amen. All right. Hopefully I'll edify, continue the faith. All right. The fear of the Lord is where the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, right? Because when you fear the Lord, okay, there's things that you don't do, right? There are things that are like, hell nah. My daddy said, don't do that. I don't want no whooping. Okay. That's the beginning of wisdom, is when you know, all right, what not to do, all right, according to the Heavenly Father's instruction. Hopefully y'all were edified. Shalom.